In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I created my very own Surrealist art period research page. And here's what it looks like when it was all done. What you're going to need is obviously some white drawing paper, a pencil, an eraser. I used a ruler, and then some form of art medium that has some color to make it a little more eye-catching. It's not required, but it really adds a lot to your overall. Let's get started. You're going to want to lay your papers out neatly and make sure they're straight. If you want a straight edge, you can use either a white piece of paper, the edge of the paper, or if you have a ruler handy, you can use a ruler. I wanted to have a nice straight edge to put my title on. And the title of your page will be Surrealism Research Page. I recommend starting with pencil, although if you're very confident, you can start with pen, but I always tend to make a mistake when I start with pen. So I always do everything with pencil, and I draw really light, and I like the saying, draw light until you get it right. So that's what I always do. I've always enjoyed doing lettering since I was a little girl, and I really enjoy making letters look like different objects. So for my title, I've chosen to make the S look like it's melting. I've got a cloud, I've got an eyeball, I've got a tree, I've got an S that looks like a snake, and an umbrella, and a few other things. I really like making the letters look like different objects. And now I've also moved on to the pen and ink, and there's all kinds of pens that work great, so feel free to use any pen that you feel comfortable with. Extra fine tip Sharpies are really nice, but there's all kinds of pens out there, so just find one that works good for you. You can even just use a ballpoint pen. But permanent markers are nice in case you want to use watercolor or even colored pencil because they don't tend to smear. Once your inking is all complete, next you're going to want to erase carefully all your lines, being careful not to wrinkle your paper. I had a little bit of trouble with that. And you also don't want to rip your paper. So when you're erasing, it's actually easier than you think to accidentally rip your paper. So use one hand to hold it down and then the other hand to erase. And the final step is adding color. And that is actually one of my favorite parts. You want to think about what colors you want to use. I originally was going to use primary colors, yellow, blue, and red. But then once I looked at my paper, I realized I really wanted to have some green in my trees and plants. So I ended up using lots of green and blue and red and orange and purple for pops of color. Another thing that's really important to do to make your page look a little bit better than average is to try to do some color grouping or shading, where you use 2 or 3 colors that are all different shades of one color. So light green, yellow green, and maybe a blue green in your where I use that in my tree. But adding color is not required, but I think it really does make your notes a lot more exciting to look at. It gives it a little bit of pizzazz. But I will leave it up to you. And you can just use one color if you want. So this is your research page and you can do it however you want. And as you guys know, I really like mushrooms, so I of course had to add a few Surrealist mushrooms that had human legs coming out of the bottom. That was pretty fun. And then I also love cats, so I have a cat head growing like a flower and an eyeball. I had a lot of fun with the illustrations, and I hope you will too. Here's my completed page with lots of nice color, answers my 4 questions, has some illustrations, but best of all, I am happy with the end results. I hope you enjoy making your page as well.